Hey everybody, what is going on? Derek here today, and I want to talk to you about something that's just very relevant and recent in the Live Fit world. And this past week, we just had our awards party for our Transformation Challenge that kicked off New Year's this year and has kicked off New Year's for the last, 9 years at Live Fit here. So one of the things that, is, perplexing or whatever word you want to use is just how many people don't finish the challenges or how many people just choose not to weigh in. And there's so many sides of this, and I'm going to try and stay as focused as I can with this, but the whole point is I guess what I want to talk about today is how close are you to your fighting weight? And when I say that, it's in the reference of a boxer, a UFC fighter, whatever, they don't stay in shape all year long, but they're within 10 pounds, 15 pounds, 20 pounds of their fighting weight. You guys see Rolo competes, how many pounds is Rolo away from his fighting weight? His competing weight's probably 30, 35 pounds less than, what it is the rest of the year. And so I think what we're all doing is we're using our fighting weight as our supposed to be weight. And we're using the weight that we maybe hit to one time or two times throughout the course of the challenge a year or 2 years ago. And we're now using that as our baseline of what we expect. And so here's a couple different analogies that I'll take is people that are late are normally always late to everything. So their example in their head is on my best day, it took me 7 minutes to get to work one time. When really, if they look at their GPS and their clock every day, it's really a 12-minute drive. But they maybe hit all the lights perfectly one day, got everything to sync up right, and they got to work in 7 minutes. Now what do they use as their gauge every time they go to work? Well, it only takes 7 minutes. Well, guess what? They're late every single time. So there is something to the whole, cliche of instead of getting ready, just stay ready. And, that's the one thing that I've always tried to teach at Live Fit, and I don't ever want that message to get lost. But I am not blessed genetically with, amazing, lean six-pack abs or, just the genetics of some of the other people in the fitness space and fitness industry that I'm in. And so it's one of those things that my stomach is the first to carry weight, always. I really have no choice. My calves get no extra weight. My belly gets all the extra weight. It sucks. I hate it. So when I start the year at 211, 212, whatever, which, every year I've started, over the last couple of years, it was 219, then 217, 215, 213. So really over the course of 4 or 5 years, I'm down a net 8 pounds of my winter weight, if we want to call it that way. But to me, my fighting weight is right around that 200, 199, 201, somewhere in that range. And I'm here. So I'm 6 weeks into a program. I followed it kind of loosely. I've worked out on, unfortunately, only 2 of the last 5 days. And I'm at an all-time low weight today for the year. And, it's one of those situations where it's I am always within 10 pounds striking distance or so of my fighting weight. And what that allows me to do, of not saying I always have to be 200, because that's where I'm at right now. It's tougher to maintain. I've had to make a few changes throughout this year. My body is very comfortable in the 210s, 215s, 220. So, for me, it's only about making small changes. It's I just have to make sure I do my pre and post, an early morning shake and a post-workout shake. It normally comes down to eliminating some carbs, a little bit later at night. But even this past 2 weeks, I've eaten carbs almost every single night for dinner. So a lot of these things, it's all you have to do is turn the dial just a little bit and make some tweaks if you're within your fighting weight. But what I've had from so many people this past week is the reason why they did not weigh in at the end of the challenge is because they ate poorly, or because they didn't do as well during the 4 weeks, or because whatever that is. So that's okay. I understand. It's staring that scale in the face, whatever you call it. But it doesn't mean that we have to avoid everything, because what happens is if you now get 15 pounds outside your fighting weight, 25 pounds, 30 pounds, 40 pounds, then you have to put Rolandio in effort in order to get back into shape, instead of just making a few small tweaks. So this is something that Rolo and I go through every year, and this is the leanest he's ever stayed leading up to a contest. So bravo to him. He's learning throughout the years, but every year it's normally a 40 or 50 pound weight loss journey, and that makes it very tough on the body. So for all of you guys out there, the biggest thing I want to stress is even if you don't think you're going to be happy with the number, you still need to be tracking your weight, your measurements, and your pictures every single day, week, month. So you should track your weight daily, you should take your pictures every week, and you should measure every month. This is 2 years saying this, and I truly stand by it and stick to it, because It's going to be what's going to hold your feet to the fire of accountability. It's going to be that thing that shows you like, ooh, I'm like 12 pounds outside my weight now. I need to buckle down. But what happens is the further and further we get away from like what's ideal, we think that getting back to this point is impossible, but yet our satisfaction will never happen from here to here because this is our new level. Where otherwise, if you got measured in pictures and all these other things, you might notice that like when you get about 5 pounds away from your, goal weight, 10 pounds, 7 pounds, whatever that is, you might actually feel very comfortable with that. And what you might find is it's way more manageable and maintainable than what the perfect fighting weight version of you is. So I know we're afraid of the scale. I know we're afraid of like the numbers of like body fat and some of these things. And I know we eat poorly on some days. But the key thing you need to remember is that like we are doing this for our long-term survival. We are doing this for our long-term health. And just like a GPS, you need to enter those coordinates every single time you make the same drive, because one day there might be an accident, one day there might be a road closed, one day there might be whatever, and you have to find a new route, and that new route actually might be the thing that is your new happiness and your new way of life and your new way that you love to go, and you love, the workouts, the foods, the whatever that are on that route. I'm trying to keep to my analogies. But the whole thing is like, but if we never track, and we're lost and we're just kind of free floating through like, well, I'm going to work out and I'm going to do this. What we end up doing is we overwork out and we undereat. And those two things lead to muscle loss. But because you're not tracking your numbers and your measurements and all these other things, you see it as weight loss and you think you're on the right track. But really what happens is you start getting more fatigued, you start getting more sore between workouts, your motivation and energy isn't quite there. And then you can't figure out why in 30, 40, 60 days that you're just not motivated and that it just isn't the same this time. And it's because you're taking shortcuts, and you're taking shortcuts with your health, you're taking shortcuts with your weight, you're taking shortcuts with everything just to see a number on a scale instead of trying to stay within your fighting weight range at all times. So my advice to you today is try and find your balance, try and find your happy medium. And if you do, you're gonna be so much happier with your fitness journey, and you're gonna love the person you see in the mirror, and then you're gonna respect the process that much more.